Ni hao, Washer, Clara. My sisters and I are kindergarten students at Hidden Trails, and we are part of the DLI Mandarin program. We wanted to thank the school board and the district for supporting this program so we can grow into productive and global citizens. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Ellie Luden.
Ni hao, 我是 Ellie. We love learning Mandarin, but it's a challenge for half-day kindergarten. We would like to request all-day kindergarten next year. Thank you for your time.
Jane Luden.
你好，我是 Jane. Thank you for supporting our program. Our little brother is going to be in TK next year. He wants to learn Mandarin too. We would like to, the sooner you start learning a language, the more you know it. Please add TK to our DLI program next year. Thank you for your time.
Thank all of you guys for your time.
Daphne Duran, followed by Waverly Fu, followed by Kenneth Zhao.
Good evening, board. I just came to introduce myself. I'm a new field representative for Assembly Member of Freddie Rodriguez, and I am representing Chino and Upland. So any assistance you may need, please feel free to contact our office, to contact me directly. I'll leave business cards for everyone. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for coming tonight.
Waverly, followed by Kenneth Zhao, followed by Jennifer Zhao.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Waverly Fu. I am the counsel for who represent the student in your flyer that and got his suspension record expunged from the district. With my client's full authority and some other concerned parents tonight, we are here to share with you our stories and the struggles during this very difficult process. California law requires the district to start investigations and to offer the final decisions in 30 days upon receiving the student's request to challenge the record. That, of course, did not happen to us in our case. So I made several phone calls to the district's student service support department, and I wrote 7 letters and emails, no result. So I personally met its director, Ms. Stephanie Johnson, to discuss the matter. And of course, she refused to answer our questions. She abruptly terminated the meetings and literally kicked all of us out of the room. So what did we do? We contacted Mr. James Knob, our longtime trusted and respected member. And thanks to his strong leadership, we quickly met our superintendent, Dr. Norm Field, who reviewed the documents, who did his due diligence very quickly, and made the right call and expunged the record. We thank for his leadership too. We're very happy, everybody, because we thought the matter was resolved. It was not. Very quickly after the meeting, we received a letter from the district risk management and the human resource department alleging 2 of the men's student supporters are being aggressive and dangerous. And therefore, if they ever show up in district meetings to support the student, they will be called in the police and they'll be put in the county jail. And ladies and gentlemen, and this is a letter from our district risk management and human resource department, initiated by the Ms. Johnson. I am absolutely outraged and saddened by this letter. This is outrageous because this is a retaliation efforts to silence our students and our parents when all they want to do is just express their concerns with the district. And this is also the violation of the First Amendment rights. Here in the US, the fundamental constitutional rights, freedom of speech, still matters to us. And no district employee is allowed to take that right from parents just because they want to talk to the district. I am also deeply saddened because this letter demonstrates the quality and incompetency of our certain management employees in our district. They're trusted with the mission to support and serve our students and parents, but this letter shows otherwise. So here tonight, we demand our district to implement more policies, to train and to audit the employees so they know how to do their job better, and they will know they will be held accountable for any intentional misconduct, just like this letter. Tonight, we demand a change and a reform from this district so it can serve our students, our parents, and members. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kenneth Zhao, followed by Jennifer Zhao, followed by Steve A.
Oh, I came first. My husband will follow me. Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Zhao. I'm the pastor of Shanghai Vineyard. We're also known as City on the Hill Christian Church in Chino. We have been residents of Chino Hill for almost 7 years now. And so thank you for this opportunity to speak and bring up my request to the school board members and the superintendent. So let me first introduce myself by saying that my husband and I love our community and we try to be a responsible citizen to contribute in however ways that we can. For example, during the outbreak of COVID-19 in March and April of 2020, I raised about $20,000 to buy PPE for hospitals. During those times when everyone is afraid to go out, I look for vendors to buy surgical facial masks, facial shields, and protective clothes, and deliver personally to many hospitals, including Pomona Valley and Ontario Kaiser. And during the Chino Hill fire in December of 2020, we also raised money, mostly from the Ayala Chinese parents, to buy the most expensive ice cream from the markets. And then we bring it to all the fire departments in Chino and Chino Hills. So as a small church, about maybe 10 to 20 families, it's a very small church, but we do what we can to bless our communities. We have food ministries. My husband, who's a tent maker, he's a computer programmer. He works full-time job, but every Friday he goes on our gas money to Santa Ana, to different places, to the food bank to bring food. And on Saturday, we have volunteer students to deliver, provide food for 50 to 70 families on a weekly basis. And so most of all, as a pastor, I try to care for the new Chinese immigrants' families. I started social media groups for Cannon Hill High School, Ayala, Chino Hill High School, and I would often translate and deliver messages from your school district, from schools, principals, to the Chinese family that may not speak and read English. So many parents will often text me, call me about school problems, issues, and I always accompany them. I try to solve problems for them whenever I can. So last year, San Bernardino County gave me an award for being a multilingual volunteer, something like that. So by doing something good is my way to serve God and to show my care for our community. But unfortunately that I'm here tonight attending the school board meeting to defend my reputation because I have recently been falsely accused. Please hear my report of misuse of power in our school district by the Student Support Services Department and the Risk Management and HR Department. In the process of helping a high school student and his parents, on Friday, January 13th, when I have the meeting here with Dr. Park and Superintendent, I received an email threat of fine and imprisonment of up to 6 months from the Director of Risk Management and HR Department. In this email that was sent to me, Ms. Fields was addressing to both my husband and myself, saying that the school values safety and that they were employees from the Student Support Services who had made complaints about my husband and my behavior during the hearing.
The next speaker is Kenneth Zhao, followed by Steve A., followed by Barbara Hale.
Now, Honorable School Board of Directors, I want to let you know that in our church's prayer meeting, we have been praying for you guys. I'm a Christian, I'm a pastor, my name is Ken Zhao. I served as a missionary and also the founder of the church, 2 churches, both in another country and in this country. Apostle Paul wrote in Romans 13 that we need to respect the authority vested in the various government levels, including the school districts, because all authorities are from God. In turn, the governments are, as servants of God, will protect and serve the people and be accountable to the Lord Almighty. People who governs are mortals, and we are susceptible to make mistakes and cause failures. Therefore, because the government wields some tremendous power and resources which can cause severe damages, it needs to be checked and watched in a democratic society. I want to let you know that we have personally experienced the abuse of the power by the Chino Valley School District employee. Some of the officials arbitrarily made up rules to do things beyond their mandate and then later try to cover up their wrongdoings. The people will bear a false witness to have the HR and Risk Management Department to issue some both illegal and unconstitutional threat against us for helping a student and tarnish our reputation. I was barred from entering the school district property because I was accused of interrupting the meeting with disruptive behavior and calling people's names. The truth is that when confronted with the facts, the director of the student support department abruptly stopped the meeting to prevent the unfavorable statements from entering into the meeting minutes and ushered us all out in 50 minutes. We are dumbfounded and angered by this brazen behavior, which shows no respect to the student and parents' rights. I have seen this behavior in another oppressive regime. I don't want to name the name here. But I thank Mr. James Na, who invited me to come to this district anytime without worry. So I come today. And I want to let you know, we tried to reach out to the HR department. 4 days later, they gave us an answer saying, your request to meeting was rejected. They bear the false witness against us, slander my name, and then I don't have a chance to clear my name. So I want you guys to do something in this district to help the minorities, to give us a chance to talk to this different levels of the district so that we don't repeat the same mistake that I'm suffering. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Steve A., followed by Barbara Hale, followed by Misty.
Hi, good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I'm here to talk about an administrative assault that had occurred. I have a pre-written statement that I'm going to read from. This letter is concerning a recent situation that deals with the threats and physical intimidation and assault by a Chino Valley Assistant Principal, Aniamu Anawanu, at Townsend Junior High. My name is Steve Austin. I'm the father to a daughter named Aubrey Austin, who is currently an 8th grader at Townsend Junior High. For the past month, my daughter has been the victim of online bullying, abuse, harassment, which included physical threats, violence, and campus harassment, bullying, and threats of violence. Although the campus said that they had the situation under control and were monitoring it, this is where my complaint begins. After receiving a very distressing call from my daughter, who was in tears and so emotional that I could barely make out her words from getting attacked and sucker punched from behind, I immediately raced to the school to pick my daughter up and ensure her safety. I knew that I wanted to talk to the principal to find out how this could have possibly happened when they told me they were handling the situation and monitoring it daily. The minute I walked into the school office, I saw people sitting on the waiting couch. Being that my daughter was just attacked, I figured that this was the attacker's mother. As I was going to introduce myself to her, one of the office staff asked me to step back in the vice principal's office, which I did, leaving my other daughter back in the waiting room. As I entered the VP's office, they closed the door behind me. I reopened the door and admittedly was upset, saying, please don't leave, please don't close the door, my other daughter's out there. In reality, I wanted to make sure that I knew my other daughter was going to be safe when the office was filled with people that were involved in this situation. Sure enough, just as I was walking to take my seat in the vice principal's office, I hear noises and yells coming from the waiting room. I immediately ran to the door to see what was going on, and as I look out into the waiting room, I see a very large gentleman, larger than myself, Mr. Anyanu, sorry about his name, I have a hard time pronouncing it, manhandling my daughter and grabbing her by not only her hair and her sweatshirt. My immediate reaction is, oh no, this is the girl's dad, and he is now attacking my daughter. I see a man wearing plain clothes, nothing showing me he's an administrator, staff, or a teacher, so I immediately run from the VP's office with my wife and vice principal in tow. I grab the man from behind in a hugging motion to pull him off my daughter. At no time did he ever announce himself or tell me who he was. As soon as I grabbed him, he fired up, turned on me, and pushed me back. Once we were both standing, he proceeded to approach me with his head on my head very aggressively in manner and standing in a fighting posture. He was breathing extremely heavy and came in with a headbutt style motion, knocking my head off while proceeding to push his forehead against my forehead with a pretty strong force for at least 45 to 60 seconds. This entire time I had not raised my hands, my posture, or my voice. In fact, I didn't really say anything at all. I stood in stoic silence, still not knowing who he was. I don't think this man with his size or stature should be grabbing minors in the fashion like my wife and I witnessed yesterday, especially not a female minor. I believe this man is a threat to the kids after what I witnessed yesterday. I feel he should have a full mental and psychological evaluation, and I do not see he is fit to be around children at this age. He's a serious liability to the school district, and the children. This is an age where kids rebel and challenge authority, and this man's attitude is not cut out to deal with these type of crisis situations. How he turned on me and went after me is completely unconscionable. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Barbara Hale, followed by Misty, followed by Carla Vandesteek.
Hi, good evening. My name is Barbara Hale, and I'm the Executive Director of Sycamore Academy. I'm here tonight to continue the discussion regarding the over-allocation fee that CVUSD is charging Sycamore. Mr. Morabito made a request of you during a board meeting a few weeks ago. I followed up that request in writing. President Shaw called me last week to inform me that the board met with its legal counsel and agreed to modify the payment schedule, but was advised that they cannot alter the total amount due. I'm not sure the basis that your attorney provided, so I'm here to tell you that he's wrong, and I'm going to explain why. You see, I too serve as an elected official, and in that role, nothing chaps my hide more than someone telling me that our board doesn't have authority that is clearly outlined in the law. So now, not only am I fighting for my students, but I'm fighting for this board. I want to explain that the over-allocation fee identified in Prop 39 facilities legislation was enacted in 2000. The first time an over-allocation fee was assessed was in 2019 in Los Angeles. It's not that over-allocation had not occurred, and that is proven by Los Angeles itself. When they first assessed the fees on 41 charter schools in 2019, they also attempted to assess fees for prior year over-allocations. This attempt proves that over-allocation had occurred, but no fees had been assessed. LA was not penalized or otherwise reprimanded for not assessing these fees in the prior years. To date, I can list all the districts that have assessed over-allocation fees. That would be LAUSD and Chino. This alone proves that you are not required to assess the fees, but let's dig a little bit deeper. It clearly is stated in Title V, Section 1196.8, quoting, "The school district may, at its sole discretion, reduce the amounts owed by a charter school." End quote. I know that your attorney, Mr. Chidester, has repeatedly stated that Ed Code requires you to assess this fee. I disagree, but let's say that that is true. What is also true is that Title V, Section 11969.8 allows you to reduce the fee and puts no limit on how much you can reduce that fee. So circling back to my prior statement about things that chap my hide, CCR Title V, Section 11969.8 explains over-allocation fees and the authority of this board. You absolutely have sole discretion. This board has the authority to stop taking money away from our students. It is 100% your choice. Mr. Chidester should have advised you that according to our current agreement, page 4, item 7, you need to take action to modify our agreement. I am asking this board to put a resolution on the next agenda. My preference would be a resolution to reduce the Sycamore over-allocation fee down to the amount paid to date. An $85,000 fine for not meeting an enrollment projection sounds far more reasonable than a $245,000 fine. Alternatively, if this board insists on taking the full $245,000 from Sycamore students, please adopt a resolution modifying the payment schedule as offered. My board would then have to adopt the resolution.
The next speaker is Misty, followed by Carla Vandesteek, followed by Candida Echeverria. Thank you.
Good evening. I was speaking with my cousin about a month ago or so. She has a son who was Oliver, who is now Olivia. She also has a special needs daughter. So we got to talking for a couple hours, and some of the things that we were discussing really started bothering me. We are constantly bombarded in our society, on the news, social media, and lately in our schools and school board meetings about LGBTQ rights. And frankly, I'm a little bit over it. Did you know that special needs kids make up about 20% of the students in the school district? 20%. LGBTQ, I'm going to go high and I'm going to say about 5. We have been told that there's in-services for the teachers for the LGBTQ community, that they are wanting curriculum for inclusivity, empathy. They want to use the bathrooms that they identify with. And teachers are now hanging flags in their room so that students know it's a safe place. So tonight, I am here to speak up for special needs kids like my daughter. They are the ones that need the world standing up for them and advocating for their rights. They don't get to speak up. They don't get to choose which disability they've been given. They are the ones that are truly ignored, forgotten, bullied, and excluded. With that said, I am calling for the absolution of all special ed classes in the district. I want my daughter included in regular ed classes. I want this flag hung up in all classrooms so that my daughter knows that she's safe. I want these books used on Rett Syndrome Handbook to teach all the teachers how to deal with special needs, Rett syndrome. You can even put up flags for Down syndrome, autistic. It's time that we look at the greater amount, and that some of these people that think that they don't have rights start looking and stop being so selfish and realizing how truly blessed they are that they can speak, attend school, and be in a regular ed class. Oh, and I would like bathrooms to have a large table with a lift.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carla Vandesteeg, followed by Candida Echeverria, followed by Leslie Furr.
Hi, I'm speaking tonight for my dad, Al Vandesteeg. He couldn't be here. He's at our food bank where I've come from. That's why I look like this. He wanted me to reiterate that the naming of, this is in regards to the new preserve school, the naming a school after a person is a mistake. In today's society, people's names are being removed from schools and public buildings. A thorough background check should be done prior to selecting a name to prevent embarrassment in the future. So just to consider that with the naming of the school.
Thank you.
Candida Echeverria, followed by Leslie Furr, followed by Caitlin Martinez.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Candida Echeverria. I'm a longtime Chino resident as well as a Chino High school graduate in 1986. And I'm here, one, I love the new campus. I think it's beautiful. I did have a lot of fond memories of the old campus, but the new one is, I'm sure, very needed and beautiful. With that, I was a basketball and volleyball player and spent a lot of time in the old gym, and very much know that how much hard work and dedication comes from both the athletes and the volunteer and the paid parents, coaches, and who spend all the time nurturing the student athletes. And at the old gym, I know there was a couple of the coaches that have spent many years coaching at Chino High School and did a lot of good, Frank Elder and Joe Murillo. And I know with the new gym, I think it'd be nice to have their names prominently demonstrated or shown somewhere to honor their history with the school and their success with the programs. So that is what I'd like to hope that the board will consider, and appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Leslie Furr, followed by Caitlin Martinez.
Good evening. I'm the mother of those exceptional triplets that you heard from earlier, and they are part of the inaugural Mandarin DLI program at Hidden Trails, and we just wanted to come and thank the board and the school district for investing in such a fantastic program. We are going to help these students become truly global, bicultural, biliterate students, and that is awesome. I will say it has been a little bit like we are building the airplane while it is flying in the air. And the district has been doing a tremendous job, but we wanted to come and share some suggestions that will greatly improve this program, the first of which is offering this program as all-day kindergarten. So I would encourage the board and the district to start talking to the teachers union. Every surrounding district that borders ours has already solved the issue of they have at least an option for all-day kindergarten. It may not be universal in their districts, but they do at least have that option. So it is a solvable problem. We have very limited instructional minutes in half-day kindergarten. And we're running a 90-10 model, which means that 90% of those instructional minutes are taught in Mandarin, and only 10% of the minutes are dedicated to English instruction. This is the model that is shown in research to deliver the best outcomes. However, it is incredibly challenging to accomplish in a half-day setting. So expanding the program to all day would be a tremendous help. Additionally, neuroplasticity is what helps kids learn language. The sooner you start, the better. We should follow the model of Pasadena and Ontario Montclair, and we should expand this program to TK immediately. Selfishly, as they said, they have a little brother who already wants to learn Mandarin. He will be in TK next year. The school has the room to do it. It will increase the visibility of this program, and it will incredibly increase the success of our outcomes. We're going to make this program into a destination program in our destination district, and I would invite you all to come and see what is happening at Hidden Trails because it is fantastic. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Caitlin Martinez.
Good evening, board. You're on it, Cruz. Good job. So we see so many parents out here frustrated with failed employees and people that you guys put in charge, and it's you guys get the hot seat. You guys on the sides are just as much to blame. You guys have been in place for a lot longer. Park, I've seen you drop the ball on so many things. Right out, you've had your hands tied to so many things too. And you guys don't ever take the heat. You guys do, unfortunately. And it's time that changed. So we're gonna start digging. We've already said you were behind here. Roles were reversed a couple years ago when we told you, Infield, that we will take seats. And that's what we did. Things have shifted, and you know that. We have people behind us that are frustrated with people that are in roles there to protect our kids. And once again, it doesn't happen. And we have principals abusing authority. Now we have McReynolds over SPED. She's a director over SPED. She was lost, for all the parents that don't know, she was a principal for another high school in another district. She lost her job over, I believe, abuse, sex abuse allegations, not allegations, there's a lawsuit, $2.8 million she was tied to. And when she lost her job, we hired her to go over and see our most vulnerable kids. So that is who we are hiring. And I know you as the board aren't the ones in charge of that, but we need to do better. Because as you can see, between all these people, between Ayala and Townsend and McReynolds, we are failing our kids. For me, for my son, I pulled him from our schools. He has Down syndrome, and I can't risk him. He's not verbal enough. He came home with too many bruises on his arms with aides that weren't properly vetted. And that falls on you guys. You too. You guys are in a position to protect our kids. Do you guys actually like kids, or are you just here for a paycheck? Because if you are, you need to have a moral check. We've got to do better. Our kids deserve it because they are our future. And if you guys won't stand up, we will take seats. We've done it already. You guys have saw that. The board has shifted. Bridge, you're an odd man out up there now. We will continue to take seats until you guys stand up. And if you're not a seat that's elected, we will make sure that your employment is in jeopardy. We will do that, if that's a class action lawsuit or whatever, but we are fed up. I pay taxes and I can't even put my kids in the school district anymore because I don't trust you guys. There's something very wrong with that, and I'm not the only one. About 80% of the seats behind me are filled with very frustrated parents because you guys continue to drop the ball. We've got to do better. For our SPED department, McReynolds, are you kidding me? We're having over the most vulnerable kids, and she's tied to what? She got fired, and we hired her? There's something wrong with that. All of this, there's something wrong with that, and we can do better. We need to do better. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Is that it? Thank you. Okay, we're now on to item 1G. On changes and deletions. Pat, are there any changes or deletions?
The following changes are on the agenda. Item 2A1, page 3 on the index. Correct reference SELP to read SELPA. Item 3D2, contract consultant services, page 71. Under approved contracts to be amended, under amendment for the portion that reads extend contract through June 30th, 2023, amend it to read extend contract through May 31st, 2023. There are no further changes or deletions.
Thank you, Pat. We are now on to action items. And our only action item tonight is item 2A1, and that's opposing of moratorium on the new single district SELPAs by 2 years from June 30th, 2024 to June 30th, 2026. Board President Sonia Shaw recommends the Board of Education direct the superintendent to send a letter to Governor Gavin Newsom and other associated decision-making bodies opposing the extension of the moratorium on a new single district SELPAs by 2 years from June 30th, 2024 to June 30th, 2026. Pat, are there any speakers?
We have 5 speakers. The first speaker is Darius de Guzman, followed by Jim Gallagher, followed by Kathy Gallagher.
Waiting for the green light. Good evening, Board President Shaw, board members, cabinet, and community. As a special ed parent, I want to express my support for the action item on today's agenda and encourage not only our board, but our entire community to send a letter to the governor, legislators, and state legislators to end the moratorium on single district SELPAs. It's time we reevaluate our relationship with West End SELPA and hold the accountability and financial responsibility locally. Too often I've heard of painful stories, not just my own, but from other parents who have fought and battled with our district who is backed and supported by lawyers and attorneys incentivized by SELPA. These aren't just current occurrences and experiences, but years of a broken system. These stories are from parents that don't have the financial ability to hire lawyers like SELPA. When you have a child with a disability, more often than not, you have one parent that has to stay home and you're living on one single income. These are parents that only want the services and support to help their children thrive and succeed. While the district continues to refuse, deny, and battle parents, the one who suffers the most are the students. Every delay that we get is time we can't get back to help our kids succeed. It's time for a change to this broken system. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Jim Gallagher, followed by Kathy Gallagher, followed by Courtney Bogle.
Thank you. Good evening, board, Dr. Enfield, staff, and fellow residents. I'm here also to comment on this moratorium, the opposition moratorium on new single district SELPAs, letter that you would like to write. And I'm speaking for a secondary special ed teacher who asked me to read this. She presents positives and negatives about this. So the positives of becoming our own SELPA is that we would reclaim most of the students in county classes, as well as some of the students in the non-public schools, which could save us a lot of money since we will have our programs in-house. As part of that, in regards to non-public school students, we wouldn't have to interface with the West End SELPA as basically a third party, so to speak, to have kids who need to travel back and forth to that. We might be able to manage or deal with some of our more challenging, high-profile cases better in some aspects. Now, the downside, she said, is that without that consortium, that's the West End SELPA, as a neutral group, we won't have the resources to deal with some of our most difficult cases. And while we can create our own programs, 100% of the responsibility for the district to have classes for all students, including low incidence, such as our deaf and hard of hearing students, for example, means we would have to have entire teams and specialists for elementary, middle, and high school ASL classes, for example. So we also need our own specialized audiology center. It would cause a major expansion of the special education department. This office is supposed to relocate to the new building, by the way, but we would need more space for other specialties, such as physical therapy, vision impaired, deaf and hard of hearing, and classes on our campuses for those classes. Now, some classes would require substantial retrofitting or multiple rooms for a small group due to the needs. Space. Not all campuses have, I might add. I see 1 or 2 classrooms, she said, available at some elementary sites, but she seriously doubts our middle and high schools have the extra rooms for that without hauling in a bunch of temporary buildings and trailers. And that's also a tedious process. Another secondary and elementary school teacher also wrote, so we have a little bit of time. She basically said our district does not have the capacity to become its own SELPA. We need the resources provided by West End SELPA. So I'll end with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy Gallagher, followed by Courtney Bogle, followed by Rita Loof.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Enfield, staff, and concerned citizens. My name is Kathy Gallagher. I have worked with students and children for over 50 years, 36 of those years as a professional special education speech-language pathologist in the Roland School District. I'm here to discuss Mrs. Shaw's recommendations to oppose the extension of the moratorium. First of all, I'm here to say that we are here to support and provide the best education and services for all of our regular ed students and our special ed students. So I'm not here to knock anything down. I'm here to just ask some questions and give my input as a person who's been in the field for a long time. The Special Ed IDEA requires the Individuals with Disability Education Act requires all students with disabilities to be given FAPE, and that's a free and appropriate education. There are 13 IDEA disability categories, and some of these include autism, learning disabled, intellectual disability, deaf, hard of hearing, blind, visually impaired, emotionally disturbed, and your designated instructional services such as speech and visually impaired and RSP. In order to create a single district SELPA, it will require a lot of energy, time, research, planning, and considerations for funding availability and resources. It must also be a process that involves numerous team members, including a SELPA director, program specialists, regular and special ed teachers, designated instructional services, speech, hard of hearing, visually impaired, along with other team members. There are numerous pros and cons to single versus multi-district SELPAs. Pros include we have more control of special ed resources, policies, and procedures. Cons include the number of students with a disability. If you have a small amount of people with that disability, do you just mainstream them all, or do you try to combine with another district or two to provide the best services for those people? Now in Roland Heights, we combine with Hacienda Heights, which the 2 districts are medium-sized districts, and so they're close to each other so we can meet those needs. I don't know about 8 districts or 9 districts that we have in our SELPA, if that is the best either. So I'm not promoting single SELPA, and I'm not promoting 9 districts in a multi-SELPA. The other cons are available space, small workrooms, special ed teachers and specialists are hard to find, recruit and keep, and the costs of what single versus multi-district SELPAs are going to cost us. We agree that the district needs to determine which services and programs will best meet the needs of our students. This is a process that involves many team members. I also question our motivation to hurry and oppose this moratorium extension without some research. I hope the board is transparent and keeps their constituents informed. Thank you.
Courtney Bogle, followed by Rita Lou.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Enfield, cabinet, and members of the community. My name is Courtney, and I'm a parent of an autistic kindergartner who attends the county special education program at Liberty Elementary School through the district. I'm here to share some questions and concerns that I have surrounding tonight's resolution opposing the moratorium on new single district SELPAs by 2 years from June 30th, 2024 to June 30th, 2026. First, where's the letter that should accompany this resolution? How can board members vote to approve something that they have not seen? The public has zero opportunity to review or weigh in on what would be sent on behalf of the parents and students in this district. Second, our district has been planning to transition to a single district SELPA. This has not been shared publicly if this is the plan. If that is the case, does our district have the resources to do this by 2024? And what will the cost be, and what are the benefits? Third, please consider other critical questions regarding the single district SELPAs. Can we afford to operate a single district program? Do we have the means to staff in a single district SELPA? The district has already been struggling to staff special education positions right now. While I am not necessarily opposed to the single district program, assuming that is the end goal, I do wonder what this letter actually does to achieve that. I know that our special education students and families need more help and support, but this resolution feels performative, like an empty move to score political points with special education parents instead of real action to help special education students. Additionally, this faster timeline seems unattainable, and it concerns me that pushing this prematurely will result in a diminished services for special education students like my child. This entire resolution is lacking transparency. I'm requesting that President Shaw, or any board member, for that matter, or Dr. Enfield, please provide the community with the answers to these questions and the plan to transition to a single district SELPA. I would also request this resolution be tabled until such answers are made available to the public, and most importantly, the parents and students you should be serving. I also am curious, how staff overturn would be, because my autistic child really struggles with transitions. So if a lot of teachers and a lot of aides and speech people are all moving at once, that could be detrimental to a lot of students' health. So I'm curious. That was an afterthought. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rita Lou.
Good evening, Rita Loof, and I am a member of the San Bernardino County Board of Education representing Area B, which is comprised of the communities of Upland, Rancho, Ontario, Montclair, and Mount Baldy. I'm here to thank the board for putting this resolution on the agenda and for opposing the moratorium. Now, I've heard the pros and cons, and this is not about the pros and cons of becoming a single district SELPA at this point. What we're talking about is local control for your board. That decision should be made by your board, not by Sacramento. This is about local control. So you can choose to become your own SELPA, you can choose to stay with the West End SELPA. I'm advocating for your right to have local control and make those decisions for yourselves. You're not getting your money's worth out of the West End SELPA. This is a myth. I've been a West End SELPA parent for over 20 years. I know them well. I see Mr. Enfield at the SELPA meetings. One of the things that I've raised that I just heard from public comment is that they vote on the contracts for the lawyers sight unseen. So talk about voting, at least with this resolution, we have some clear language on what it attempts to do. At the West End SELPA, the superintendents, which are unelected administrators, all of them, they vote on contracts for lawyers sight unseen with no caps. There's $3 million a year going to law firms. Those are the people that are running the SELPA. It's the lawyers. What do you think they're telling special ed teachers? Do you think they're telling them to provide reading services? Or do you think they're telling them to create litigation so they can make money? So the SELPA is not neutral. They are a special interest body run by lawyers and special interests. So you definitely need to advocate for your right for local control, for your community. I have heard the stories of the Chino Valley parents for many years. If Ontario Montclair School District can become their own SELPA and be a heck of a lot better off, then I have faith in the Chino Valley School District that you're going to be able to be just fine. The West End SELPA is a shadow agency. It's a middleman bureaucracy, and they have a budget of $200 million a year. I think you can manage your own money and do a lot better. So I encourage you to proceed and to oppose this moratorium. I actually support part of the governor's proposal, which includes tightening restrictions on non-direct services that are currently happening at the West End SELPA via the excessive litigation to deny service.
No more speakers? May I have a motion?
So moved.